What is up, guys? Just want to make this video real quick to let you guys know that MiHoYo has done something I never would have expected them to do. They actually officially released the changes they plan to do for ZhongLi in 1.3 testing. So we'll be going over each of these changes as well as my opinion on them and if they are significant enough for ZhongLi to see more playtime. Before we go over this post, I just want to give another reminder to be careful of what leaks you believe in as well as spread. The reason why I bring this up is because last night a notable content creator had posted some 1.3 ZhongLi changes or buffs, and that resulted in people coming to my stream and asking me if I watched so-and-so person's stream for these 1.3 ZhongLi changes, which ended up being not true. If it wasn't for the fact that MiHoYo had posted these official changes, we would have believed that those were the buffs or changes happening to him all the way until the release. Alright, so this first bit basically just says that they understand that people love ZhongLi a lot and that they apologize that this announcement of his changes is late. But to be honest, at least it came out before his banner ended in case people are curious to pull for him. This next paragraph states that they understand through feedback that people are more concerned about ZhongLi's strength in practical combat, the finer points of his build usage, the Geo construct system, and so on. And for the last part of their opening statement, they said that after analyzing in-game data and talking greatly, they have decided on their first test of changes, which will only be available for 1.3 beta testers. This will not be in the live version of the game, but the aspects of the changes are going to revolve around enhancing ZhongLi's talents, optimizing the controls, the mechanics of his abilities, improving the mechanics of his Geo Resonance mechanics, and adjusting his shield. Reminder that these are not final changes to him, that they will be continuing to adjust him during 1.3 testing based on the tester's feedback as well as various other things. So maybe the numbers will change or just the aspects of his changes will change as well. With ZhongLi's first change, they plan to change his Ascension 4 passive Dominance of Earth from just only buffing his Elemental Burst skill to buffing his basic attacks as well as his Elemental skill, and keep the same change for his Burst skill. The changes for his Elemental skill and his basic attacks is basically going to be that all hits are going to get increased by 1.39% of ZhongLi's max HP. So in regards to ZhongLi main DPS, I don't think this damage increase of 1.39% of max HP is significant enough to turn into a meta main DPS. What makes a main DPS is their ability to change their basic attacks in one way or another. For example, Diluc has the ability to change his attacks to Pyro as well as Kaching. Razor has the ability to increase his attack speed when he uses his burst skill. Klee has the ability to get an enhanced charge attack with her passive. I do believe this will be a great damage booster for those that do want to play main DPS ZhongLi, whether they love his attack animation style or they just love the character in itself, but I still think that players should build ZhongLi normally with attack percent Hourglass, Elemental Damage Cup, and Crit Rate or Crit Damage Helmet if they are planning to do main DPS. I don't think this HP increase is significant enough for you to want to go HP build on him for main DPS. So as an example, I put main DPS artifacts on my C0 level 90 ZhongLi and I have about 21,000 HP. If we bring up a calculator, you can see here that when we go 21,000 HP and then do it by 1.39% max HP, that's going to be a 291 damage increase on each of my hits. Now let's say for example we went HP build and changed a bunch of substats as well as the main stat to HP percent and got up to 35,000 HP. If we had it like that, we would be going from 291 damage increase up to 486 increase. Keep in mind that the Hourglass for HP percent and attack percent is going to be the same. A level 20 main stat attack percent Hourglass is going to have 46.6% increase, as well as an HP Hourglass would have 46.6% as well. Here you can see my HP had gone up almost 3,000. The reason for this was because I changed my attack percent Hourglass to a 20.6% HP Hourglass. I know that's like less than half of what a max Hourglass would be like, but you can see just from that change alone from attack to HP that 20% gave me around 3k at level 90. Let's just say for example, switching from a 46.6% attack Hourglass to a 46.6% HP Hourglass, it increased your HP by 7,000. If your HP got increased by 7,000 and you multiply that by 1.39%, that would result in a damage increase of 97.3 roughly per hit. Now I went a little bit deep on that math because that math is still going to be relevant to people who want to play support ZhongLi, because his elemental skill is going to get a buff too, where his stone steel, resonance, and hold damage are going to be increased by 1.9% of max HP. If we bring out the calculator again and look at the 21,000 HP that I had on my attack build ZhongLi, that is going to change his elemental skill to do 399 more damage per hit. If we were converted to some crazy HP build, that would be an increase of 665 damage per hit. And if you just switch the hourglass from attack to HP percent, that would be an increase of 133 damage per hit in comparison to the attack build. And yes, when you're doing damage hits of 3 to 10,000 per hit, getting a 400-700 increase does not seem that significant, but you also have to keep in mind that you have the opportunity to put like 4 Geo constructs down to multiply that number by 4. Overall, I think this damage buff to the elemental skill is quite welcome, and it will cause me to use ZhongLi a lot more, especially with the changes to the Dominus Lapidus hold mode, or his elemental skill hold, as well as the elemental resonance change. As I stated earlier, his Ascension 4 passive will still buff his elemental burst skill, but it will not see a change. It will still be a damage increase by 33% of ZhongLi's max HP. Now, one of the biggest significant changes is to ZhongLi's elemental skill hold. So previously, holding down ZhongLi's elemental skill would create a shield, do AoE damage, and suck out Geo element from nearby targets. The shield would do 250% Geo damage absorption. Now with the change, what's going to happen is that the Geo shields will do 150% absorption to physical damage and elemental damage. This was an issue because people felt Diona was a better shielder for things such as floor 12, but now that he's going to be more universally usable for like all different floors and all different types of elements, I think Geo shields will see a huge rise in usage. So for those that don't know, ZhongLi's elemental skill hold will give a base shield of 1951 with 17.9% max HP additional. The shield will last 20 seconds and has 12-second cooldown. If you pair his Jade shield with his Ascension passive talent and his possible new 1.5 times damage absorption buff, it is very possible for you to keep your shield all the way till his cooldown is over. If you want to see some math behind it, let's say for example you had 21,000 HP on an attack build. Once again, you multiply that by 17.9%. That's going to be a 3,759 shield. You add that to the base of 1951. Your shield is going to be 5,710 normally. Now, I'm not 100% sure on how shield strength and damage absorption is going to work together, but let's say, for example, you're going to multiply this number by 1.5 for the damage absorption, and then your shield strength goes up by 25% because you're getting ticked by something very small, such as like a burn or something of that nature. Regardless if the shield's going to protect you for 8,000 or 10,000 or 11,000 or even more, because maybe you're going on HP build, this shield will definitely help increase your survivability and more so help your damage because you're going to be able to be uninterrupted for the most part whenever you get hit. Another huge change to ZhongLi's elemental skill is that if you hold down his elemental skill, it'll now produce a stone steel if you do not have the max number of stone steels available. This is very big for me because I was always stuck in a position where I'd use his elemental skill, just tapping it, switch off, and then come back to ZhongLi to hold down his skill to get his shield up. This will definitely cut down the time process to do all of this. And now for the changes to Geo as a whole. They're going to be changing the Geo Elemental Resonance from just only having your damage increase by 15% when protected by a shield, to increasing your shield strength by 15%, as well as increasing your damage by 15%, and having Geo Resonance down by 20%. I think this is a huge change. The old Geo Resonance of 15% increased damage when you had a shield was already very comparable or even stronger than the 25% increased attack from Double Pyro. This new buff of 15% increased shield and 20% res down is definitely going to make me want to use ZhongLi and Geo MC on the same team, or maybe even ZhongLi and some other Geo character like Ningguang or Albedo in the future. Now, I still do wish MiHoYo would change the crystallized reaction so it would have some sort of damage benefit, something like the Blessing of the Abyss moon buffs that we've been having as of late, or give some sort of benefit to stacking multiple crystallized shields, because as of right now, having some sort of element like Pyro, then applying Geo will consume the Pyro and the Geo together to form a shield, but stacking multiple shields over and over has no purpose other than to refresh the absorption. This Geo Resonance change is great and all, but not all players are going to be able to use 2 Geo characters or want to use 2 Geo characters on the same team, so having Crystallized be changed would definitely make Geo characters a better standalone unit. And lastly, for the changes, Geo Shields as a whole will be changed. It won't be just ZhongLi's Jade Shield from his elemental skill, it'll also be Noelle's Shield from her elemental skill, and the Geo Crystallized Shields from the Geo Bishop Hatchlings and various other Geo interactions. Just like ZhongLi's Shield, Geo Shields will no longer have 250% Geo damage absorption because there's not a whole lot of Geo damage in the game, and now it'll be 150% physical damage and elemental damage absorption. These two changes to Geo Resonance and the Geo Shield balance is definitely going to cause you to see a lot more C6 Noelles be used as a battle maid, as a main DPS and a healer at the same time. Overall, I'm very pleased with all these changes. I do hope they fix the resonance or reactions for a lot of other elements so that the game is more balanced out. And these changes will definitely cause me to use ZhongLi on my team a lot more, but I don't think ZhongLi is going to be an insane power creep because of these changes, because mostly it's a small damage increase, but a more quality of life with his steal, and also his ability to serve as a tank is a lot better. You'll definitely be seeing a lot of people replacing their healer with ZhongLi so that they could free up a slot, so they could put something like Geo MC or another Geo character so you could have more Geo constructs, so you could take advantage of this Geo Resonance down and deal big damage. And now for the big question people without ZhongLi are going to be asking, should you pull for ZhongLi because of these changes? I think you should definitely be pulling for ZhongLi if your options are between Albedo and ZhongLi. I think ZhongLi will be definitely more significant of an impact than Albedo will be doing. Now, when it comes to comparing characters like ZhongLi, Ganyu, Xiao, Ayaka, Hu Tao, or any of the other expected characters, it's really up to you. They all kind of serve different purposes, so you really need to think for yourself. Would you benefit the most from having some sort of shielder CC'er, or would you benefit from having somebody that's a potential DPS, or maybe a support, or a Nemo DPS, or a Cryo DPS, things like that? If you just want to follow my footsteps, I would pull for ZhongLi over these other characters because it's harder to power creep a support, especially one that could shield you and replace a healer, as well as petrify and do damage. We already have a lot of cryo supports that could be substituted for Ganyu, such as Kaya and Chong, and even Diona. And for Xiao, we don't know what his changes are going to be. We could just assume that he's going to be nerfed, but also in the closed beta testing footage you've seen where he does massive damage, they're often using food, or they're using the old closed beta testing Noblesse Oblige set, which is very different than the set that we currently have for Noblesse Oblige. And for potential main DPS cryo units like Ayaka or even Ganyu, we don't know how strong they're going to be, but at the same time, cryo reactions aren't really that strong. Stacking Superconduct doesn't really do anything because it's fizz resistance down, but it doesn't stack over and over, and the damage from Superconduct is actually like a third or a fourth of like Overload and Electrocharge. When it comes down to Melt, you're only going to be doing a 1.5 times damage Melt. And lastly, for Freeze or Shatter, it's not really going to be that great. And for the people wondering if they should get Constellation for ZhongLi, I don't think getting Constellation for any 5-star character is really worth the money. If you're an Omega Whale and you have the money to spare, go for it. But personally for myself, spending $200 or $400 for a small increase for the Constellation is not worth it. Alright, that's going to be all for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Please do consider leaving a like, comment down below what you think about these buffs, and if they are enough for you to pull for ZhongLi or build him up. Subscribe for more Genshin related content, join our Discord to be part of our Genshin Impact community, follow me on Twitch if you guys want to get some live tips or discussions about Genshin Impact, follow me on my socials such as Twitter and Instagram if you guys want live updates on the game, very quick ones as well too. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!